December 23rd, 2025, 8:51 p.m. Eastern. Silver hit $72.63 an ounce, a new all-time high, the highest price in the metal's entire history. And with that print, the countdown to $100 stops being theoretical and becomes mathematical. Because $72 isn't just another number. It's confirmation that we're watching Hunt Brothers 2.0 unfold. Only this time, there's no Nelson Bunker Hunt chartering Boeing 707s, no Herbert Hunt flying silver bars to Switzerland, no visible billionaire the system can point to and shut down. This corner is different. It's institutional. It's fragmented. It's invisible. And it's already further along than the Hunts ever got. Here's why $72 changes everything. What the pattern tells us about the path to $100, how fast this can move based on history, and why the parallels to 1979 aren't coincidence. They're confirmation that someone learned the lesson the Hunt brothers taught 45 years ago and is executing it flawlessly. Let's start with what just happened. Silver hit $72.63 on Tuesday, December 23rd, up 2.8% in a single day and 145% year-to-date. That's the strongest annual performance since 1979. Yes, that 1979, the year the Hunt brothers launched their corner attempt, when silver ran from $6 to $50 in 12 months. 46 years later, silver is up 145% in a single year again. The rhyme is unmistakable. But what makes $72 critical isn't the nominal price. It's what $72 represents relative to resistance, supply constraints, and the psychology of triple-digit silver. For 45 years, from 1980 to October 2024, silver was trapped below $50. The Hunt's $49.45 peak acted as both a technical and psychological ceiling. Every rally failed. 2011 hit $48 and collapsed. 2020 reached $29 and faded. The $50 level killed every bull market for nearly half a century, until October 2024 when it finally broke. And once it broke, the move accelerated. $60 fell in December, then $65, then $70, now $72. Silver is in price discovery. There is no historical resistance above $50. No memory of trap sellers waiting to get out. From $72 to $100, it's open air, and that distance gets covered fast. Do the math. Silver began 2025 near $24 an ounce. By late December, it reached $72, a $47 move, nearly a 200% increase. Now we're just $29 from $100. If silver maintains even half of 2025's momentum, $100 arrives by April or May 2026. If momentum accelerates the way it did from September 1979 to January 1980, $100 shows up by February. The fundamentals support it. This is silver's fifth consecutive year of structural deficits. Annual demand is roughly 1.16 billion ounces. Annual supply, 1.035 billion. That a 125 million ounce shortfall every year, filled only by drawing down above-ground inventories, which are now critically low. COMEX registered silver stood at 138 million ounces on December 1st. In the first 4 trading days of December, 47.6 million ounces were claimed for delivery, 34% of registered inventory gone in 4 days. London's free float is estimated around 135 million ounces. Shanghai inventories have fallen below 446 tons, the lowest since 2016. And as of January 1st, China has implemented silver export restrictions, locking up roughly 15% of global supply. Industrial demand isn't slowing. Solar alone consumed 232 million ounces in 2024. Add electric vehicles, electronics, and data centers, uses that aren't cyclical, but structural, mandated by policy and technology. Mine production? Flat. About 813 million ounces in 2025, up just 2%. Supply cannot respond. When supply can't respond and demand keeps growing, price becomes the only balancing mechanism. Prices rise until demand is destroyed or recycling surges. Neither is happening at $72, which means prices keep rising. Now, consider the Hunt brothers' parallel. In 1979, silver started the year at $6.08. By January 1980, it peaked at $49.45, a 713% gain in 12 months. The Hunts accumulated roughly 200 million ounces, controlled 69% of COMEX silver futures, drained inventories through physical delivery, and created a classic supply squeeze. They drove silver from $6 to $50 until the system intervened. COMEX changed the rules. Rule 7 banned new speculative long positions, forced liquidation, and silver collapsed 78% in 2 months. But here's the key point. The Hunts proved the concept. Silver can be cornered. Supply is finite. Concentrated buying creates exponential price moves. They reached $50, accumulated 200 million ounces, and generated billions in profits. They failed only because they were visible, because the system knew exactly who to stop. Today, the pattern is repeating, without a visible target. No 2 Texas billionaires to ban. The modern corner is spread across institutions, jurisdictions, and structures, and it's already at $72, 43% above the Hunt peak in nominal terms. Adjust the Hunt brothers' $49.45 peak for inflation, and it equals roughly $185 in 2025 dollars. At $72, silver is still over 60% below that level. Either silver is massively undervalued relative to history, or the Hunt corner had no fundamental basis at all. The data says it's the former. Industrial demand today is far stronger than in 1980. Supply is tighter. Inventories are lower. And unlike 1979, when inflation fear drove speculation, today's move is backed by real deficits and real consumption. This isn't speculation. It's mathematics. Here's the timeline implied by the pattern. December 2025, silver at $72. Breakout confirmed. January 2026, China's export restrictions tighten supply. Silver tests $80. February, March 2026, COMEX inventories fall below 100 million ounces. London drops below 100 million. The squeeze intensifies. Silver reaches $85 to $90. April, May 2026, solar season begins. Industrial buyers panic. Investment demand returns as shortages become undeniable. Silver breaks $100. That's the path. And $72 was a signal that it's already underway. June 2026 and beyond. Silver enters full price discovery above $100. Media coverage explodes. Retail floods in. Momentum feeds on itself, carrying prices toward $120, then $150. The path is clear because there's no resistance, no historical ceiling, only supply exhaustion colliding with inelastic demand. The risks to this timeline are limited. Could the Fed hike rates aggressively? Unlikely. They've already cut 3 times and are signaling patience. Could industrial demand collapse? Only in a deep recession severe enough to cripple solar, EVs, and electronics manufacturing. Not the base case. Could new supply appear? Not on this timeline. Mines take 7 to 10 years from discovery to production. Any meaningful supply response is locked out until 2030 or later. The only real risk is intervention. COMEX or London changing rules, as they did in 1980. Position limits. Restrictions on physical delivery. Forced cash settlement. But that solution would shatter confidence in paper silver markets, expose their fractional nature, and trigger a rush to physical metal. Premiums wouldn't rise modestly. They'd explode, potentially 100% or 200% over spot. Either way, rule changes or no intervention, silver goes higher. Here's what almost no one is asking. The Hunt brothers failed because the system intervened. But what if the entities cornering silver today are the system? What if accumulation is being carried out by institutions so large, so embedded in the financial architecture, that regulators can't target them without destabilizing the market itself? What if the modern corner isn't concentrated in 2 names, but dispersed across dozens of entities? Sovereign wealth funds, central banks, investment firms, mining companies, refiners, all accumulating, all holding, all positioned for this outcome. You can't stop a corner you can't see. You can't isolate it. And by the time it becomes obvious, by the time inventories are gone and silver is trading at $100, it's already over. The corner is complete. The countdown to $100 didn't start at $50 or $60. It started at $72. That was a confirmation level. The point where the pattern locked in, where the parallels to the Hunt brothers shifted from interesting to undeniable, where the math said this move doesn't stop until supply exhaustion forces repricing. We're $29 away. At current momentum, that's 4 to 6 months, possibly less if a catalyst hits. A major bank failure, a geopolitical shock, a COMEX delivery failure, any event that exposes the fractional reserve reality of paper silver markets. And when $100 breaks, when triple digits become real, the psychology changes. Silver is no longer just a commodity. It becomes a monetary crisis, a supply crisis, a public admission that the paper markets never reflected physical reality. The move beyond $100, the acceleration toward $150, $200, is when a Hunt Brothers comparison fully crystallizes. They reached $50 before the system stopped them. We're already at $72. And this time, there may be no one to stop it. If you want to understand how the Hunt Brothers actually pulled off their corner, how they accumulated 200 million ounces, why they chose silver, what worked, and what went catastrophically wrong when COMEX changed the rules and Silver Thursday collapsed prices by 78% in 2 months, I put together a video breaking down the entire story. The billion-dollar profits, the Boeing 707s flying silver to Switzerland, the Saudi princes who joined them, the $1.7 billion loss, and a lesson modern accumulators learn by watching unfold. Watch that next. Because understanding where we are now, at $72 with $100 in sight, requires understanding where we've been. The Hunt Brothers proved silver can be cornered. They showed the path. They paid the price for going first. And someone studied their playbook, learned from their mistakes, and is executing the same strategy today. Quietly, invisibly, successfully. The countdown to $100 began at $72. The only question is who's been counting down for years.